They were going to give me $1 million, he said, to shoot the pilot. I thought, man, this is my break. This is it, you know.
How many companies did you shop around Bad Advice to, your TV show?
You know, there was different stages of it. So I wrote the show quickly. We shot it in 2021. I pretty much was finished shooting in 2021. In 2022, I edited, and then 2023, I shopped. You know, the whole year was dedicated towards trying to get it on television, you know. And gosh, I didn't have an exact line. I think that's one of the hardest parts. The hardest parts for people is generally finding money for a film, and then what the heck do I do when I make it? As much as the filmmaking is hard, it's those two elements that are really the hardest for people and discouraging, because artists can live in that middle area so well. But I ended up, gosh, first one guy was going to shop it and then shared it around, and then that didn't work out. And then another person was, and we ended up getting an agent at Gersh, the head of Gersh, to shop it around. And he shared it with, I think, 3 or 4 companies. And then the strike happened, sadly. And so that kind of ruined our trajectory with the show and the agent, because he probably felt like, well, my writers are striking, I'm not going to help a new show replace writers. So there's whole dynamic going on there. So he didn't shop it anymore once the strike happened. And I was thinking the strike was going to help us, and I found out the strike did not help us. It really hurt us, because nobody wanted to touch anything. And gosh, the strike lasted a long time. So then I wasn't going to sit there and wait for Gersh thing to come back, nor do I know if he's even going to come back, you know. The communication got very little, because I think he didn't want to get anywhere near anything that would make his clients mad at him, probably. I don't fully know, but that was pretty much done. So then I had to look for another way to get it on platforms and stuff like that. And I always knew I could go to Tubi, because we had that connection to get things on Tubi. And I just kept trying, and ultimately I ended up coming back to the connections I already had, which is, let's go get it on Tubi and Pluto and Shine TV and some of these other platforms. I went with the connections I knew to shop the show, but it's also meeting new people. You know, I literally just dedicated my time to shopping it. So it was like, I'd go to every industry party I could. I'd talk to everybody about it. Did you know anybody, you know, and really trying to get to know new people, because I clearly didn't know the right people to get it on television. And that's a really hard thing to do. I thought, because we never had, you don't have a lot of people making a whole first season of a TV series. I made a whole first season of a TV series independently. So I thought, if I have this whole season, I could get it on television. Like, people can see what we did and know that it's good, and get it on there. And man, that circle is so tightly niched. You know, they want things they make themselves. They don't want your thing. So it was discouraging for me. You know, it might not be the same story for somebody else. I don't know if they just didn't like my show, or the strike happened and that was a huge part of it. But also the people that did see it, 5 or 6 of them came back and said, we need names, which was extremely discouraging. You know, it was literally like, even Roku was like, we really love the show, but we wish one of your leads was a name. You know, it's like, well, they're not names, but you know, it's cheaper, you know, let's give it a shot with an audience. But no, they didn't see it that way. So, and then sometimes you don't get a whole lot of answers on why they think it might not be right for them. And so you're sitting there guessing in a way. You know, they say, a lot of them said it was great, but no names. I mean, that was the one common thing that I would hear them say, is that they wanted names. And as much as the show has Larry Hankin and Ken Davidian, and they're recognizable faces from Borat and Seinfeld, they're not the names these people are thinking of, or they didn't watch enough to see those people. I don't know. They're not the leads. And I think that's what they wanted, names as leads, which takes money. So it's a whole other problem.
So would you get meetings with any of these people, or no, because you already went with kind of who you knew through avenues? You didn't really need to get meetings. It was just emails?
It's not emails. You don't meet a lot of people in those positions in Hollywood from people introducing you. It's not how it works. People hold on to their connections so tightly because that's value for them. And there's so many middle people that make their career on being a middle person. So they don't give you, sadly, their connect. They don't go, oh, hey, go pitch Fox. I know a guy at Fox, go pitch him, or go show him the show and meet him. No, they're gonna take your show, they're gonna bring it to the person at Fox. If the person at Fox likes it, then maybe it circles back around, but he's gonna have to love it. Instead, you're just listening to this middle person that's, has an agent or a manager, that is an agent or a manager or whatever, that's shopping it. And you gotta trust that they're doing what they're saying to do, sadly. But at least they're agent or a manager. At least I got to that stage where they're agent or a manager doing it instead of, some guy you met who claims to know somebody, which is where I was 10 years ago, which was, oh, my boy's showing it to Netflix or whatever. But you don't really know, so at least an agent or a manager, we thought at least, was more legitimate. But I think the most legitimate was the head of Gersh, and I knew that he definitely was probably doing what he was saying he was going to do. But it ended up where it ended up, which is it ended up on Tubi. So.
And how do you handle if someone, let's say, is rude or discouraging? Maybe they don't know you. You're cold pitching something, or you're trying to call around to get to someone. How do you handle that? That's something that does happen occasionally in this town. And how do you shake it off?
I don't know that I had anybody rude to me, or maybe I'm just oblivious to it, I think when I have a mission, I'm kind of like relentless. And I think if people kind of doubt me, it's always been my strong suit of like, you can doubt me, I'm going to prove you wrong kind of thing. So I'm very relentless, but you can't force somebody to see if an audience is going to like it or not. And those people have those positions, And I think the hardest part was trying to get one of them to watch it, I sat down with one of the guys in charge at one of the one of the platforms, and I'm sitting next to the guy who can literally put it on television, but he never, we had a whole conversation. He acted really nice, and we were from the same place in Pennsylvania, and I thought, oh, this guy's going to watch it. He never responded to any of my text messages, and I sent him the show, and I have no idea if he ever watched it. Probably not, So it's really hard in that way, And that's why when I give people advice, if you meet someone that is in a high position, don't push your stuff onto them, because they're probably not going to watch it. If you can somehow make that person your friend, or make them, hey, you play tennis, do you do this, do you play golf, do you surf, do you do anything that you have a common bond with, go try to hang out with that person in real life, But it's just really hard to get to the decision makers. It's very rare, and it's rare to meet them. So it's not rare to meet people that say they're decision makers, but it's rare to meet the real people that decision makers, When I made 3 Guys on a Couch, someone at Fox called me in and said, we want to do something with you. I thought my whole career had changed. I was going on the Fox slot every week working with them, and probably just handing my ideas to him, who was handing to his boss. I was talking to somebody who I thought was a decision maker, who acted like a decision maker, but he was not a decision maker, And so, gosh, it's such a fine line with all that stuff, with trusting, that somebody has the power that they say they have, And in a way, you just kind of got to blindly trust in a way, because if you come with any negativity to somebody who is a decision maker, you could offend them. And then you're really put yourself in a bad place. So there's a bit of naiveness to it, and there's a bit of belief, I guess, that has to come with it. And I kind of just shrug it off, At this point, I'm just like, it'll work out when it works out, I think that's the only way I can keep going at it so strongly, which is like, just believe it's going to work, and I don't know when it's going to work, but it's going to work, and keep going at it. So, and I think if you can not have exact expectations, maybe you won't be more disappointed. That's the strategy I use, so I don't know.
Well, you were making it on the lot of a successful studio, so there's some pull there, obviously.
Well, Three Guys on a Couch, I made that and I got on the lot. So we never made anything on the lot. I came to the lot and I was giving him, parole officers, all these ideas to make another show. He didn't want to keep going with that show. He wanted to make another show. Similar show, but something different. Okay. So I came in every week handing him all my ideas. He liked this idea of parole officers for a new TV series where a guy gets falsely arrested for drugs and then he gets a crazy parole officer that basically takes over his life and destroys it. And he has to do everything the parole officer says because if he doesn't, he's going to throw him in jail. So they like that idea. They were going to give me $1 million, he said, to shoot the pilot. I thought, man, this is my break. This is it, you know. And then, we're going to do a table read for the executives Friday. Oh, fantastic. Wednesday or Thursday, he calls me and goes, oh, it's canceled now. They have something similar, they say. We're not going to do that anymore. I mean, for me in my 20s to get that call, I mean, it was crushing, you know. So, but luckily I copywrote parole officers, so he didn't own it. He didn't know I was copywriting every idea I was giving him. And I had written it and gave it to him, but I owned it. So we still made it. So I made it independently, parole officers, and it's free on Tubi now. So, I mean, people can see that idea. I made the TV pilot and, you know, and I'm proud of it for what it was. We made it in 2014, you know.
But you can't copyright an idea.
No.
You did it. You
I
had a
copywrote the script.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Right, okay.
Yeah, so I was coming in every week giving him my ideas, but that particular idea, parole officers, he liked a lot. So then I went and I wrote it, copywrote it, brought it back. So when he read it, he was like, I think we love this, we dig this, you know. But then he said they had something similar. Now, was anger management, or not anger management, was, I think they made anger management into a TV show back then, or something like that. So maybe that was similar, maybe he was telling the truth, I don't know. I just know that my whole deal just blew up. 9 months of me coming into the studio, handing this guy all my ideas, and now I have nothing. So I was crushed at the time. But I think that's what's pushed me more into the independent route of filming my own stuff, because it's less and less disappointment, you know. I think the hardest part for me at the stage that I'm at is not making it. I can usually do all that stuff. The hardest part is advertising. The hardest part is I need to get an advertising budget. People need to learn about, like, bad advice. The only way bad advice falls is by not enough people knowing about the show. You know, I need a couple $100,000 worth of advertising, and then it would at least fall or do good, you know, more people would know about it, you know. I've got nothing but positive feedback for the most part, which is nice. But getting above the white noise, getting people to watch it, and to know the story about it's independent too, because everyone compares anything you do independently to a big studio. And it's like you're working way down here and they're working with all this money and all these talented people, and you're working with far less people, whether they're talented or not. So, but you're still compared to that, and you got to be mindful of that when you're making stuff, and take it easy on yourself in a way, you know. Not in the sense of getting a worse quality product, make sure the product's good, but take it easy on the results, because it might not be the exact ones you want.